Right. And I'm sure that, he doesn't get into it in the article as to the way that that could be played
Well,
out.
he said, turn the Mossad agents we have operating in America loose.
Right.
I believe that's basically how he stated it. Not,
And the irony here is that he has received a huge amount of criticism from Jewish and Israeli lobby groups condemning him for this. Now, okay, I am not going to say that I think assassinating a president at any point is a good idea. However,
about
he was talking theoretically here, and these people go too far when they say, "How could he even think that Israel would even contemplate something like that?" And anybody who buys into that type of political analysis certainly doesn't have any idea of any of the deeper aspects of politics.
yeah,
Assassinations are not uncommon in our modern world, in world politics. And
yeah.
to
It's an
say,
important part of the Israeli Mossad playbook, that's for sure. You know.
yeah, so I'm not going to say that he doesn't deserve. First of all, I don't think he was necessarily purposefully advocating for that. I think that he was doing a piece on
Yeah,
Israel and
as
their
it's
options.
one of the options. Yeah, like,
So,
but here's the thing: that shouldn't be one of the options.
well,
You
of
know what I
course not.
mean?
No.
But if you want to go to war with Iran, this is the three things you can do. One of them, which is knock off the American president. He didn't name Obama, but I mean, this is currently but he did say that Obama has. What's the exact wording here? Um, an Alice in Wonderland belief in the use of diplomacy to halt Iranian nuclear
Yeah.
development.
Diplomacy. Where does that ever get
Yeah,
anyone?
yeah, yeah. Jeez, man. Anyway, oh god, do we have anything else we can talk about other than Iran? I think it's clear now we don't want to go to a war,
Yeah, you're going
and
to get me hot under the
I think
collar
we've
here again.
dismantled the case. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can just talk a little bit here. I went last week. I went to Barrie for an NDP leadership event.
Oh yeah, how was that?
That was not too bad. Unfortunately, there were only three of the leadership candidates there. There was in attendance Peggy Nash, Romeo Saganash,
Nice,
and Paul Dwar.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay, those are three interesting characters for sure. I mean, I think Peggy Nash is at least still being mentioned with the front runner group, right?
Hmm.
And
And I think
Paul
Paul
Dwar,
Dwar.
he's had apparently a very very good campaign thus far, and has taken himself from middle of the pack and perhaps threatening to become part of that front runner group.
Hmm.
You know, the only real major hit on him so far is still his. And he says he's learning French every day, but I mean, come on, that's not going to work. You know,
Yeah.
you know. So, but anyway, tell us how it was.
Well, I guess the first thing I'd like to say is, as far as all three of the leadership candidates that were there, I got to say that I went in not knowing what to expect to see, where they were going to go. They were very friendly. I'll say that first of all. There
Yeah,
was absolutely no personal attacks against each other, which is to be expected in the NDP leadership race. I think that they I'm not going to say that they've all came to a decision and said we won't do it, but I think they know that that's best.
oh no,
Um,
that's a great idea. They got to be a party after this. So I mean, what's the point? And
yes.
especially since it's very clear that at least half that pack is in there to build their names. You know what I mean? And get
Hmm.
hopefully a cabinet position in a future NDP government. You know what I
You're
mean?
you're going right down the street that it led me to think too. I think that the synergy of a number of these NDP candidates are what is going to build the party. Of course, they have to pick one member as a leader,
Yeah,
but I think that in the end, that's what I thought. It was very hopeful for me to see all three of them, especially when they stood up and gave their opening speech. All three of them handled themselves very, very well. And then when the questions on the floor came, it's a little harder to talk on the fly, and the performances were not quite as good as the already planned speeches. But I was impressed by all of them in their delivery. Um, but your point that these people need, after the leadership convention is over and a leader is chosen, they still have to be able to come together and be an opposition party and look to dislodge Harper. And it really gave me some hope that the synergy of these leaders, I think that there's a good chance, that they're going to build a decent future for the NDP party together.
Well, everybody in Canadian politics have to look to the Liberals to learn one very important lesson: infighting within your party will destroy your party. You know what
Exactly.
I mean? What you're not going to get the kind of differing set of ideas between Romeo Saganash, Peggy Nash, and Paul Duar that you will between, say, Peggy Nash, Stephen Harper, and Elizabeth May, for example. You know what I mean? Or Bob Ray, even. So yeah, they're in the same party. They have the same core principles. Now they may have differing ideas on the roadmap to power and how those core principles should express themselves in policy. That's what they should be talking about. Now, on the downside of not fighting each other, it doesn't give the tabloid media such as CBC anything to focus on when covering. The CBC is not going to cover their policies.
Yeah, they have no idea how to cover a friendly leadership campaign.
The CBC would have a story there if they had a knock him down, drag him out, personal attack oriented kind of debate going on, like the Republicans. The CBC covers the Republican primaries more than they cover the NDP leadership race, which is to me a simple and utter disgrace. You know, because the NDP wants to talk about policy and the future of our country right now, and the NDP just wants to talk about how many people Newt Gingrich tags while he's married.
Yeah, well, that's the irony, talking about the American Republican leadership conventions and straw poll, or not straw polls, but the convention or the choice that they're making for their leader. Yeah. I mean, it's political masturbation. It really is. And they're attacking each other left, right, and center. Yeah.
Whoever is the Republican nominee, Barack Obama's not going to have to tear that person down at all. Not that it should be about their election should be about that, because the point of the matter is the Republicans have already destroyed every single one of their own candidates as effectively as any opposing party could ever do. None of these guys is going to get out of this race unscathed, which they don't deserve to. They all have poor character and they're all insane. You know what I mean? So be that as it may. You should be able to count on your own party to not attack you and tear you or rend you limb from limb.
Yeah, and the scariest part is that my guess right now is that the Republicans are going to pick Newt Gingrich in the end, and I'm just basing that on South Carolina is probably more important than the two previous Iowa and New Hampshire.
Well, the Republicans can't run a Mormon. There's just no way.
That's just it. As Mitt Romney won't sell to evangelical Christians.
As damaged and compromised as Newt Gingrich is, at least he's not a Mormon. You know what I mean?
I think that's what a lot of people, the evangelical Christians in the United States, are thinking.
Yeah. And up here in Canada, I don't think we really fully appreciate the extent to which religious interests express themselves politically in the States. We just don't understand that. And, I mean, that's why they can't have Mitt Romney. Now, I agree with you that Newt Gingrich is going to be their man, but here's how I tell. As soon as you see a primary happen, and you thought one person was going to win, and surprise, those electronic voting machines tally up the vote, and it's a completely opposite person that you thought was going to win based on polling that was happening right before, then you know that whoever's in charge of those machines, who's in charge of all the elections, has chosen their winner, and apparently it's Newt Gingrich. So, okay, it's like, I mean, imagine Newt Gingrich as president. Oh my God!
You just sent shudders down my spine, man.
Yeah, jeez. Yeah, he can't win. So there's nobody in that Republican pack right now that can beat Obama. So
and that's the reason why I said it's political masturbation. This whole Republican the primaries, because I'll call it right now, and it's not about who I want to be president of the United States, but I'm just going to call the election. Or I'm going to call the presidency. I'm not even going to call it an election. I'm going to call the presidency for Barack Obama second term.
Yeah,
Right here, right now.
absolutely. You can do that. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Um, and yeah, but we were talking about the difference between the Republican primaries and the NDP leadership convention, and expressing our disappointment that the CBC covers one and not the other. The one that they cover is not relevant to us in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
And
And
the reason they don't cover it is because the NDP leaders refuse to fight. So and there's nothing for a tabloid media outlet like the CBC to sink its fangs into. You know what I mean?
you know what, though, too, Tony? Here's one for you. I think that they're going to get the same thing from the Liberal convention when that happens later on this year. Bob
Well,
Rae has already come out and kind of told his party, like, look, we cannot destroy each other.
good for
And
him.
the Liberal Party maybe has more of a record of internal disagreement. It's obviously not as brutal as American politics,
Not even
but
close. But
not even.
they
Exactly.
do.
It's
They
just
do. Yeah, they have turf wars that are far more intricate and old. Like these are generational turf wars that occur right within the Liberal Party because it has such a long history and it has governed so much. And there's so many people that have been plugged in at different levels of the political trough. You know what I mean? So they fight on those levels, and it might be a good thing that they came in third this time because they can purge all of those elements, right? Because those elements aren't going to stick around for another 15 years while they're rebuilding. They want to know if they can start feeding at the trough again next election. You know what I mean? If they don't see that happening, then they can get rid of it. Then they're going to find something else to do with themselves, which is good because it'll allow people that actually have an interest in the success of this country back into the Liberal Party.
exactly.
And so it may all be for good. Now, it's nothing about the fact that we have Stephen Harper as Prime Minister and he's got majority power right now is good. But insofar as in the long-term hopes of the Liberals, this purging needed to happen,
Yeah. And just one really other quick thing that I'd like to say, seeing that we're talking about the Liberals, and we haven't mentioned this on the show yet, is that Justin Trudeau has come out and said that he's not ready to run for leadership. So we now know that that the Liberals are kind of light in their leadership. The people who might be interested in that, and it's starting to look more and more like Bob Rae could end up being their permanent leader.
They can't let that happen. I love Bob Rae. I think he's a fantastic human being, a great politician, but he is so incredibly tarnished at this time that there's no sense in letting that guy be the Prime Minister.
Yeah, or maybe Prime
Or
Minister is
leader.
probably a step
Yeah,
too far.
I'm sorry.
the
I'm sorry.
Liberal leader.
Leader.
And I,
He
I
can't
can
be Prime Minister.
wholeheartedly agree with you on that one, Tony, because I too have, as looking at Bob Rae, not just as past, but especially even looking at his current interim leadership of the Liberal Party, you got to give the guy credit. He has done a great job. However, like you pointed out, he has damaged goods in Ontario, and no matter what political stripe a person is, whether they're Conservative, Liberal, NDP, people in Ontario, rightfully or wrongfully, just don't like this guy. He's tarnished, like you say, from his record as an NDP premier in Ontario. And again, it's not to slam Bob Rae, because I'm not doing that.
I think Bob Rae's a fantastic, like he's the kind of human being that I think should have power in this country. It's just that he unfortunately had a dishonest platform that he did not expect to win an election. He made promises that he never expected to have to keep. People were disappointed in that because they didn't have an adult way of looking at it. You know what I mean? What did you actually like? Don't look at politicians' platforms and whether they're going to keep. Of course, they're going to break promises because two things can happen. One, they never intended to keep them, and two, circumstances can change, making it impossible for them to keep those promises.
And
right?
ultimately, you want your politicians to be pragmatic enough to not just, blindly cover their eyes and go forward and charge into something when they know that the information they've been given them means that they have to change their opinion.
Right. Bob Rae was honest about what was happening at every step of the way after he became premier.